get active for 6-8 seconds. Guys, this is what we had to get. This ain't the one we want. You want that ball?
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Laurel Leader Call Sports Show. I'm your host, Jack Fairchilds, joined alongside Kevan Lindsey and our good friend and yours, Josh Guru Nichols. Guys, a lot of fun action last week. We got all four local teams in the playoffs. Guru, that's the first time since 2004, right?
Correct. 21 years ago.
Crazy that it took that long because, I mean, these are fairly good programs throughout the years, and we finally get to see all of them in playoff action coming up this Friday night. But let's go back and let's talk about what we saw this week, and we'll start with the game that I was at, Jim Hill at West Jones. Complete mismatch. I mean, West Jones from start to finish dominated. Kevin, you were there with me at the start of that game before you went out to Northeast, and it was one of those games where we thought they might realistically get to 35 points before the end of the first quarter.
Yeah, it was the race to 35, right? That's pretty much the way it went. 50-0. This, like you said, it was a complete mismatch throughout the whole game. Just looking at stats that I picked up before we went on there, you had Tootie Lindsey and then Braden Powell, backup junior. They combined for 2 touchdowns apiece. Yardage was about the same, about 125 yards for each quarterback. Caleb Holmes had 98 yards, a touchdown. The one thing that stood out to me was 4 different wide receivers had a touchdown. Yeah. It was just one of those games where the score was 50-0, but not one person kind of showed out, I guess you could say. You know, Caleb, 98 yards on the ground. Not a big night for him, you know.
Well, he was pretty much done by the halftime.
Yeah.
You know, so, I mean, if you look at it from that perspective, it was a big night for him because – you know, again, when you have that comfortable game, knowing that the playoffs are coming up, you're able to rest a few folks. I know Coach Reynolds had to be very pleased with what we saw on Friday night. And it was the perfect palate cleanser after the Hattiesburg game. I think that, and two, they clinched hosting a first-round playoff game this Friday night. Kevin, let's go to the game that you left West Jones to go cover. Tell us about this very low-scoring Northeast Jones-Wayne County game that got Northeast Jones into the playoffs.
Yeah, I told you guys this last week. We all talked about it last week. I actually listened to our podcast yesterday on the way home and was like, man, we really picked how this game would go if Northeast Jones was going to win. They had to have turnovers. That's what they got. They had to score off turnovers. That's what happened. And then you had the defense. I said it, I think Guru did too. This defense had to have at least 3 turnovers. They basically had 2 in the third quarter, which got them points. You had Toby Jones with the interception. He was running it back. He fumbled it, gave it back to Wayne County, but then Wayne County fumbled, and they were deep in their own territory, and Northeast Jones was able to score. They had an early score by A.J. Pugh that put them up 7-0. But they went up 14-0. Wayne County did respond in that game late. Got a touchdown of their own. Again, doing what I said, getting the ball on the edge, things like that. Trying to stay away from Percy Taylor, Carson Lyons, and all that. But they were able to score. I think it was from 5 yards out. But then you had Carson Lyons who blocked a field goal in that game. You had this defense and special teams step up, and that's what got them the win. About midway through the fourth quarter, we get an update that Purvis was beating Van Cleve. I think it was. Yeah. Purvis was shutting them out. Obviously, the sidelines erupted whenever I announced that they were getting shut out because that meant that they get in the playoffs. And the biggest thing I saw was it made me smile because the defense, with like 3 minutes left in the game, some of the defensive players came over and they're like, we're not out of this thing. We are not out of this thing. And that just made me feel good for the defense that they showed up. Northeast Jones had a whole negative 3 yards passing.
Wow.
And they had 157 yards rushing, so only 154 yards total for this offense. But again, the defense stepped up, and they've been carrying this team.
Yeah, so happy for that team. So happy for Coach Milner. I mean, great team, great coach. Happy to see them go on. Guru, you were at what was our game of the week last week, South Jones at Laurel. Very, very low-scoring game. Guru, tell us what you saw.
Yeah, Jack, final score was Laurel toppling South Jones 7-3. Just all in all, just a defensive battle back and forth for both defenses. That was really the key. South Jones scored first on a Carson Keefe field goal, and then both teams in the second quarter each missed a field goal attempt, and South led 3-0 at the half. And post game, Coach Ernest told me that what he wanted to do, what he told his team in the locker room since they were receiving the second half kickoff, is they wanted to get the ball, go down and score, take the momentum away, and then just basically try to ride his defense out. And that's exactly what they did. I think it was a 5-play drive capped by Abney, 4-yard rushing touchdown that put Laurel ahead from 7-3 with about 9.5 minutes left to go in the third quarter. And that was all the scoring. And pretty much from that point on, both teams kind of kept the ball in between the 20s. There was a couple of turnovers and quite a few punts. And then with just a little over a minute to go, no timeout, South Jones gets the ball back. They start at their own 8. Laurel gets a holding penalty, moves them up to the 18. Flowers completes a couple of passes to get some momentum, ends up on I think it was about like a 3rd and 11. He scrambled for a 14, 15-yard gain to get them just past midfield. There were, I will say, and I'm saying this from, this is totally unbiased. I watched it with my own eyes, and it wouldn't matter who was playing. I saw it happen. Prior to that drive, when South burned their last 2 timeouts to try to stop Laurel and get the ball back, both times 3 extra seconds ran off from the time the official blew his whistle until the clock stopped. So that's 6 seconds, right? Well, then we had a stoppage after an incomplete. It was either an incomplete pass or a pass that was caught and ran out of bounds, where about 8 seconds ran off the clock, and they put 5 seconds back on. So would it have mattered? That's 14 seconds. That's a couple extra plays you could get in. But at the end of the day, the biggest play of the game, South Jones has the ball. Clock's ticking. We're under 10 seconds at the snap. And Flowers gets sacked by a couple of tornadoes, and that just sealed the deal and started the celebration for Laurel, because that gave them the number 2 seed in the district and gives them their Friday night game at home this week, and then which consequently, there you go, easy word to say.
Not always.
Gives South Jones a 3 seed and sends them on the road for the first round of the playoffs. It was just, if you like defense, that you could have picked Northeast or the Laurel South Jones game, and you would have had a fun night at either one of those.
It sounds like it was a great game, and hats off to Coach Ernest in turning that team around, after the 0-6 start, to get into region play and be able to win 4 straight games and clinch that 2 seed. I'm sure when we get to our previews, you'll tell us a little bit more about, what might be going on with South. And I want to kind of do the previews a little bit different this time, but that way we're not tipping our hat on who we might be picking in these games. On these previews, guys, let's kind of talk about what we see as the keys for a victory for the local team. And the first one we have up is going to be Hancock at West Jones. West Jones they need to continue to play the complete game that they have. They need to make sure that they're efficient on offense. Hancock has a pretty good quarterback, Guru, from what you looked up this week. So we know that they can throw the ball. We know that this might be a back and forth kind of game. But I do believe that if West Jones can pound the rock on the ground and use that to set up play actions and dynamic passing, I think that's the key to their victory. Kevin, what's your take? What do you think's the key to victory for West Jones?
This defense, it's going to throughout this whole playoff run, it's going to be if their defense can hold up. We know what the offense can do. We know what this trio of Tootie and Chandler and Caleb are capable of. But the one thing that keeps rearing its ugly head is whenever they lose, they're losing by 40. Like they're giving up 40 points. They're giving up a lot. We saw the cracks start to happen with West and Wayne. I know they're beat up on that side. Guru's mentioned it. They got some young DBs. This defense is going to be the catalyst of how far they go. And I think that's the biggest thing is Guru had the quarterback. I wish I had his name on my paper, but I don't. But he's a dual threat guy. Is he going to cause that defense problems? We saw last year with Deuce Knight, whenever they played George County, they bumped West Jones out round one, and Deuce was a dual threat type of guy. I'm not saying this kid is Deuce Knight, right? Because he's, that was a 4-star, I think 5-star athlete.
That George County game last year, was that at West? Or
It was at West.
Yep.
Yeah, they got bounced. They got bounced early. So I want to see what this defense can do if they can hold up. If they can hold up and get it together, then West Jones has a chance to go far. But I'm not so much worried about the offense. This defense is what I'm looking at.
Guru, you've actually spoken with Coach Reynolds. So what do you think are the keys, and what did you take away from your pre-game interview with Coach Reynolds?
Well, look, going back to what Kevin just said, the quarterback's name is Kaysen, and I hope I don't mess your last name up because it's a tough one. Kodinen, 6'3", 185, like Kevin said, dual threat, thrown for over 2,100 yards, rushed for another 1,200, has a total of 34 touchdowns. Coach Reynolds said that's one of the keys is just, containing him, limiting him. You can't let him beat you with his arm and his legs, because if the West Jones defense allows him to play his type of game where he's picking up yards through the air on the ground, it could be a long night.
Yeah.
But and I'm sure that's going to be the game plan. They're going to focus on either limiting him on his feet or with the pass, and with what Kevin alluded to and what I've talked about before with a young secondary. I would think they are going to let him throw the ball around, but keep him in the pocket and not let him beat them with his feet. With that being said, it goes back exactly to what Kevin said. Defense for West Jones will determine how far they go in the playoffs this year. Now, if they get into games with teams that are similar, that aren't as, good on defense, and they can play in shootouts week after week, I mean, with the trio of those three, of Tootie, Watson, and Holmes, you put those three up with anybody in the South in Class 6A, and you like your chances. But at the end of the day, the old adage has always been defense wins championships. And, I mean, we're just going to have to see how the matchups go, if they can get past Hancock and just see where the chips fall as far as their next opponent and how they match up with them.
And that is also the Super Talk game of the week. So for those of you that can't make it, it will be on the radio for you to check out as well. Next matchup is Northeast Jones at Old Brook. This is a tough game for the Tigers, without a doubt, not just because of how good Old Brook is, but that's a tough place to go play on top of it. So, I think the key to victory for Northeast Jones is the same as it was last week. Force turnovers, don't turn the ball over yourself, establish that solid run game that controls the tempo, keeps Old Brook off the field, and just ride that defense that has been stellar all year. Easier said than done, of course, but I think that is the key to that game. Kevin, I'm sure you're not going to disagree much there.
No, I don't. And I don't want to sit here and regurgitate your comments either because we're all three on the same wavelength here. I will be interested in how Old Brook's offense responds to Northeast Jones's defense. This was a game or this was a team that they struggled against Laurel's defense. They struggled in the second half against South Jones's defense. And I think that we could all agree, if we're rating the defenses in the county, that Northeast probably has the strongest out of the four.
I agree.
So I'm interested to see if that defense can carry them against Old Brook, if they can give them problems. With that said, they're going to need another performance like they had against Wayne County. They're going to need that 3 turnovers. One of the things I think that I did like with this offense is that, and Coach Milner talked about it in his post-game interview, was that they put the linebackers as blockers on the offense, and he even pretty well said it without saying it. It's just getting 4 yards of carry, and you do that 3 times, and that gets you a first down. And we're going to let the clock sit to about 6 or 8 seconds before we take the snap. So you're taking about 30 seconds off the clock every time you hit a play, and you just go from there. And we could look up this weekend and or Friday night, and you could look up and you could see probably Northeast Jones maybe have an 8 or 9 minute drive on offense if it's a successful drive. And hey, if you do that, and Old Brook only gets a couple of drives in that game, you never know what happens.
Walk away with a win.
Yeah.
Do anything you want to add?
Yeah, I would say going a little bit further on what both of you guys have said, key number one is they cannot let Old Brook do to them what they did to South Jones, and that's jump up big
for sure.
and early. Because South was put in a 19-0 hole. If Northeast gets put in a 19-0 hole, their offense is not like South Jones, where after that big lead, South Jones actually outscored Old Brook 24-23 the rest of the way. Northeast is going to have to not allow Old Brook to come out and get out to a double-digit lead in the first half. It'll be an uphill climb for the entire rest of the evening if they do. The other thing is, going back to what Kevin said, ball control, sustaining drives. Even if you only come away with 3 points, if you can eat up 8 or 9 minutes of a quarter and come up with 3 points, and that's going to limit and put some pressure on the Old Brook offense. And I think Northeast, with their entire defense, matches up a little bit better than South Jones did against this Old Brook team, because I'm telling you, those dudes, they get out in space, their receivers, even their backs coming out of the backfield. I mean, you give them a lane 3 feet wide and they hit it, I mean, they can house it at any moment. So the biggest thing in this game is that Northeast does not allow Brookhaven to get up by double digits in the first half.
Absolutely. Next, we've got Purvis at Laurel. Kevin, you're going to be covering this game, so I'm gonna let you start off this time and telling us what you think the keys to victory for Laurel are in this game.
To me, very similar to Northeast Jones and Old Brook. I never would have thought, if you would have asked me 10 years ago about Laurel's defense, and I would have been like, yeah, their defense is okay, but their offense is what you got to watch. This is turning on this winning streak that we've been watching. This is turning into one of those things where it's the defense that's carrying this team. And you go back to whenever Coach Ernest was at Collins, they had a lot of offensive firepower. I do not want to take anything away from that because they were go, but they had a very underrated defense too. And I think that he's kind of leaning into that a little bit this year at Laurel with that defense. I'm kind of seeing that physicality on the defensive side of the ball. This one could be one of, I think, kind of similar to South Jones and Laurel, kind of similar to Laurel and Summerall, where it's just kind of a dirty, physical, ugly game, and it turns into one where it may be Laurel 13, Purvis 10. I could definitely see something like that. I know Coach Hankins at Purvis, he's a defensive-minded coach, man. He loves it. Offensive line, he just loves the big, ugly kids up front, right? Them big, nasty boys, right? So this is kind of one of those games where I see it being like that, a 13, 14, 10 game. I don't see it being an offensive shootout by any means.
Guru, anything you want to add?
Yeah, we seem to be all on the same page with all these games because I totally agree with what Kevin said. It should be just another knockdown, drag out defensive battle where the team that makes the fewest mistakes and ends up with the fewest penalties probably comes out on top. It's kind of cool that it's a all tornado battle.
Yeah.
Also between the bricks, it doesn't really get any better in this state playing anywhere other than between the bricks. And, Laurel's going to be hyped up, wanting to defend home turf. And this with the way Laurel has ended the back half of the season on a 4-game winning streak, and the momentum just seems just to start coming along. Laurel is really starting to look like a dangerous team in the south half of 5A right now.
Kevin, you and I saw a tease of this defense when we were both at the Gulfport game. So we saw, but in that game, Gulfport just was able to wear them down. With that outstanding running back, I can't remember his name, but again, they were able to wear Laurel down. Now that they're playing, some competition that feels a little bit more even with them, they're not getting worn down. They're finding a way to finish at least one more score than the other guys, and it's been fun to see. Coach Ernest is definitely one of my favorite people to interview, and I'm so happy to see them, and I'm hopeful that they can put together the game plan that you guys already laid out, because I think y'all are 100% right there. Guru, next up is South at Wayne County. You're going to be covering that game, so we'll let you start off with the keys to a South Jones victory.
Jack, you could just flip a quarter 50 times, and however many times it landed on heads, give it to South. However many times it lands on tails, give it to Wayne County to predict this one. This one can go a number of ways. The one thing that I think from this Friday, and hopefully for South Jones moving along throughout the playoffs, Braves, if you would treat every single opponent that comes up on your schedule from today moving forward, that they are wearing green and gold and that their name is the Mustangs, and you play every team like you played West Jones earlier in the year, if you play every team like that, you boys can go a long way. But until that your entire team finds that mindset and plays that way, we're going to keep seeing what we've seen over the last 5 weeks. Play everybody like they're West Jones. Every time you look up, it's this Friday, it's not blue and orange, it's green and gold standing in front of you. Play them that way. That's the key for you Friday and hopefully any game moving forward.
Kevin, anything you can add to that?
Yeah, I'm not going to make my pick, obviously, here, but it's just I've sat here all week and tried to decide who I'm going to pick, and I'm sitting here looking at our picks that we're going to talk about later. I'm still up in the air, but yeah, I'm like Guru. I don't understand it. I made a post about the belt thing, right, and it got shared, and people from South were still talking about West, and I'm like, what are we doing? Like, the whole belt scenario was just for fun and
hypothetical.
Yeah, it's all hypothetical stuff, and we're still talking about, well, you're trying to disrespect us because no, like you beat West this year, you put up 48 against them, and
38.
30. Yeah, 30. I don't know why I was thinking 48, 45. It's 38, 35.
Mm-hmm.
But you had probably your best game offensively against them and riding high and all this stuff. And you're essentially one upset away from being out of the playoffs. Luckily, you get to play in the playoffs this year. But man, I don't know. This team has confused me because I think they have all the talent in the world. They had a. I think he's still leading the state in tackles. You've got a defensive player who's one of the top tacklers in the state. You got a kid who's getting wooed by Ole Miss on offense. I still think you have a solid quarterback. I mean, and we're, I don't know. I flipped the coin, and that's what you get with South and Wayne County. On the other hand, I'll say this: it was Wayne County. They're exactly who I thought they would be. Once they got outside and kind of made some lanes, they were able to exploit Northeast Jones on that drive that they scored. South is going to have to watch that. South secondary is going to have to step up. They've got a young quarterback at Wayne County, but man, he's good. In a couple of years, he's going to be really, really good. So if you're a Wayne County fan, be excited for that because this kid's good, and Guru's going to be able to see that Friday night. But yeah, just treat it like they're wearing green and gold, like you said.
I think you guys pretty much said it best. I mean, and maybe use some motivation from the fact that it's the team that put you out of the playoffs last year. It's the team that put them out last year.
Yep.
And South Jones was the home team last year.
Yep.
And it wasn't a close game.
Yep.
If that can't motivate you, then I don't know what else can. Now let's go ahead and jump into the wild card question. You guys already know what it is this week because I told y'all downstairs. You know, in Mississippi for years we just went to 5A. They expanded to 6A. Fine, that was okay. Now they've expanded to 7A, and you've got teams in some of these classifications making the playoffs with 0 wins. To me, I cannot fathom how that makes sense other than money. I mean, the Mississippi High School Activities Association only cares about one thing because, again, this is not something that is good for the kids. I mean, yeah, maybe you get more champions. Yes, somebody who played high school sports I played high school soccer. When I played, we didn't even have classifications because there weren't enough soccer programs in the state. If we had 7A, I would have had a couple of state championships instead of being a state runner-up because the teams we lost to are all 7A. So, but that wouldn't make me feel like we were achieved something. I mean, again,
it's the same thing for me as far as baseball goes because I played at Laurel, and if we were in a 7A or 7-team classification, it was either Petal or Oak Grove who put us out every year. I would be just like you. Would probably sit on the show every week with our 2 state championship rings from the sports that we played, and it's absolutely 100% about money. That's all it is. I mean, you look at our state. We have 7 classifications for less than 300 public school football teams. In Texas, they have 6 classifications with
way more.
I want to say it's like over 2,000. It's something ridiculous. I mean, if you've ever driven the state of Texas, Texas is a big ass state.
It is. I have driven it.
I mean, dude, I drove through there 2 years ago, moving my son from San Diego to North Carolina. Shout out to our Marine Caleb. And
Happy Veterans Day.
Yes. And I mean, I fell asleep and woke up 2 different times, and we were still in Texas, me and him alternating driving. Saying that, it's just, I mean, it never should have gotten past 5. And this is something we talked about before. I mean, it's kind of like, I know they said everything based off a numbers thing, right? But we all know, and we've watched it through the years. I mean, just based off what we've seen this year, you take 2A Heidelberg. Are you telling me they can't beat 5A Jim Hill, who West Jones just beat 50-0? Heidelberg beats Jim Hill 70-0.
Yeah.
I mean, just because Jim Hill has 3 times more students than Heidelberg doesn't really mean a dang thing when it comes to athletics. And, you know, they're talking about some redistricting across the state. One locally that they've talked about is consolidating the 3 Smith County schools into one high school, which I don't necessarily see as a bad thing. Yes, it would cut down on some traditions and such, but I feel like if they do a redistricting and make fewer high schools, you got to cut back on the classifications. It wouldn't make sense. I mean,
you should have never gone up to it in the first place.
No, you never should have left from 5. 6 was ridiculous, but when you went to 7, I mean, how many teams do we have in the South in Class 7A, 6A, 5A? We have 16.
Yeah.
16. Or is it 12? It's 12. Yeah. It is 12 because think about the districts, everybody played 5 games. So it's only 12 teams.
Yeah.
And like you said, a team that doesn't win a game and gets in the playoff just because they got put in a district that has 4 teams, and guess how many teams from a district go? 4. When I played from 92 to 95, we were in a 7-team district, and in every sport, top 2 teams. That was it.
Yep.
I mean, it's participation trophies is all it is at this point. And we all agree that it's ridiculous.
Kevin, I know you've been sitting there patiently or maybe impatiently wanting to give your take on this.
Well, look, and Guru, I've been doing this for a bit since before you guys come on, between Jasper County and then going over to Macomb for a bit, and now here. And this is kind of where I've been with the whole MHSA. This is my biggest gripe, I think, with the MHSAA, and even to a point to the MAIS that I have a problem with. It's the fact, and I know we're talking about football, but you really see it in baseball and softball. You really, really, really see it in baseball and softball. I remember a couple of years ago, I want to say it was Lake County had to come to Stringer, and the boys and girls softball and the baseball team, they both had to play round 1 game at Stringer. They done double headers for both games, for the softball game and the baseball game. The boys won, I think, like 21-0 in 3 innings, and then turned around and won like 18-0 in 3 innings. They didn't even pitch their starters because they just wanted to save their arms. Maybe they put them out there for an inning. They played as young a players as they could. Both games, one of the boys started at 5, and we were done before 6. And then the softball game started at 6, and we were done by like 6:40 for 2 games. It was so bad at one point, the catcher audibly yelled out that she could not throw to second base. That's how bad this team was. And here's the thing, and I think it's one thing that's becoming glaring, right? Lee County didn't bring anybody for fans. There was maybe a dozen people between both games, both baseball and softball. They get 30% of the gate. They get 30% of the gate to come in for 45 minutes. And maybe that's the gas to get down there, right? But then you have this year with football, we had, as far as what I counted, we had 3 winless teams in the playoffs. Because it's based on points. That's what it came down to, was points. But they didn't win a single freaking game. And I was looking because I remembered a thread, and somebody counted that there was 14 fans in the stands at one of those games for the other team. And they walk away with 30% of the gate, no matter what.
Ridiculous.
And it's just a huge problem. Whenever we went to 7A, I was around, and I questioned why we went to 7A, and the logic was the fact that, well, you have teams like, for us down here, you have teams like Oak Grove and all that are just beating up on other schools. and the other schools just never have a chance. I'm sorry. Okay.
I remember when South Panola was dominating high school football, and people said nobody else had a chance until somebody beat them.
Till
Meridian.
I was there,
Yeah.
Meridian.
Tyler
Wayne County
Russell.
snapped a streak, and then Meridian snapped a
Yeah.
streak.
I mean, and it's one of those things where that's always going to. You look at college football, you always have dominant teams. Right now, as much as we may not like them, Ohio State is a dominant team right now.
For over a decade, it was
Yeah.
Alabama, almost, if not
They're
winning
still
it.
the fourth team in the country.
Yeah,
And if they
Alabama's
weren't winning
still-
it, they were in it.
Yeah.
So I mean, again, you still are top heavy
Dodgers,
with teams.
MLB, back-to-back World Series
Well, here's the
champions.
thing: you talk about nobody's winning it. Well, what do you do about West Point? West Point.
Great point.
West Point has been in the state championship every year for the past decade.
And not only that, they're in Class 5A, but yet they're considered as the number one team in the state.
Yeah.
So you tell me that they can't go up and beat whoever comes out of 7A or 6A?
They
They absolutely
absolutely
can.
Well, yeah, I'm pretty sure that. Didn't they play Tupelo this year and beat them?
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, Tupelo's the best. Arguably considered the best
7A
7A team
team.
in the state.
Right.
But here's the thing, though. Like at the end of the day, we shouldn't have. And I'll go back to it again. A few years ago with 1A ball, that we had Stringer and Mount Olive and a bunch of teams in 1A. We had like in one region. Okay, we had like 7 teams in a region. 5 made the playoffs, and look, Stringer was one that was not a good team. Okay, they were not a good team a few years ago, and they got in the playoffs just to go up to, I think it was Simmons, and get the brakes beat off of them. And none of those kids even wanted to go to the playoffs. I'm just going to be real with you. There may be some Stringer folks that are saying, no, that's not true. That is very much true.
Because they knew what was going to happen.
Right,
They knew that they were inferior.
right.
I remember having the threat of not making the playoffs if we didn't win
Yeah.
our district games, not region games back then. They were district games back then. If we didn't win those games, we weren't guaranteed a spot. You could finish 3rd or 4th and you were out back in the old days.
Like just right here locally last week, that South Jones Laurel game back in the day, that was for a playoff spot. That wasn't to host.
No.
That wasn't to be number 2 or number 3 in the district. That was to make the playoffs. And, sitting here while you guys are talking, and I'm thinking, if we're going to stay with this current system, which I do not foresee it changing no matter who says what.
Money talks.
The only thing I think you could do is if you get in a situation, let's just say with our class 3 5A and class 4 5A, right? If your 4th place team in, say, the Wayne County Northeast District doesn't have a district win, but over here on the other side, their 5th place team has actually won a district game, why won't we go play them, let them get in the playoffs, and leave the team that didn't win a district game out? I mean, I think that's like the only thing that I can come up with. And I think especially in the lower classifications, 1A through 4A, anywhere that they've got just 4 teams in a district, you got to change that.
Yeah.
You can't just have 4 teams, because with you letting 4 teams in the playoffs in every sport, we're always going to get stuck with, in every sport, teams that don't deserve it because they didn't win any district games getting into the playoffs. And I'm sorry, that's not acceptable.
Stupid.
If you can't win a game in your district, why in the world do you deserve to be rewarded with a playoff game? Why? It makes absolutely no sense.
I don't understand why we have 5 rounds of playoffs. That's including the state championship. I don't understand that. In 4A ball, you have round 1, round 2, round 3, round 4 in the championship. You got to slim it up. I think you have to slim that up. Take a round off.
No, that would take away money, Kevin.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, that no-win team gets 30% of the gate. So
I think it was Marcus Boyles. I think it was Marcus who had who said it best a couple of years ago. I know he said it on the radio, and at one point, I think when the 7A stuff come around, he was kind of campaigning for it. He's like, why can't we either start the season later and then shorten the playoffs and shorten our season up a little bit? He said because one, and I know for some it's a tradition. And I think he even said it with South State being on Thanksgiving, right? He's like, it's just really, really hard to get your kids up and get them going for practice when we're playing in December football, and then you got basketball and soccer and everything else that's come along also happening. He's like, why can't we shorten the season up, make the district games matter, and then shorten it up, a little bit on the playoffs, where either we could just take that week off and have it completely off, have a bye week, and give your championship teams a week to prepare.
Just like in the NFL.
Why can't we do something like that besides going up and having more games and having all this stuff? It's silly, man.
Yeah. And again, we know we're venting. That's all we're doing because we know it's not going to change anything. The brain trust there in Jackson knows better than any of us, unfortunately. And we see from their bold expertise how little they actually know. And I think we've success. You feel better just at least ranting about it on the air? I mean, I know I feel a little better, but it's still frustrating because we know it's not going to change.
No, I don't feel any better because I know it won't change.
Okay.
And I think
I'm just going to rant about something next week.
Let's just go on. It's just, idiotic. It's all about money, and that's the way it's going to be. And until someone with the wherewithal to take over at the MHSAA and say, hey, this isn't right for those kids, because a team like Kevin was talking about in Leake County, to have that happen, what good does that do those kids?
Nothing.
Hey, but at least we addressed tailgate.
Thank God for that.
By the way, we've had 0 incidents with tailgating in Jones County, just FYI. They've been tailgating like crazy.
Also true.
I was enjoying a tailgate with them a couple weeks ago.
That's a rant for another day, Kevin. We got to get to the picks. But we agree with you. Let's start off with our college picks. The first game that we have down for our matchup. It's going to be a fun matchup. Notre Dame traveling to Pitt. Both teams, are staring at a potential playoff berth. Pitt really needs to win this game, but I think right now the Irish seem to be firing on all cylinders. I mean, they've got probably, if not the 2 best running backs in the nation, they got 2 of the best running backs in the nation. It's hard to argue that Jeremiah Love is not the best running back in the nation. I think Notre Dame is going to win on the road, so give me the Irish.
Same, give me the Irish in this one. You said it all.
Yeah, the only reason I put this game on here is because this is, I think Pitt came in at 22 in the CFP ranking, so it's a top 25 matchup. It's a road test for Notre Dame, who after an 0-2 start has bounced back. But this is a playoff type game for the Irish because they cannot take another loss. Because them falling to a 3-loss team, finishing possibly 9-3, I don't think they make the playoffs. But I do think they're able to go into Pitt and come away with a win, stay right in the hunt. Because I think at the end of the day, they're going to finish 10-2, and they're going to be one of the top 10 teams in the playoffs when that's announced in a few weeks.
Next matchup we've got is Oklahoma at Alabama. Another game with playoff implications. Alabama right now, as much to the chagrin of the 2 guys sitting on each side of me, is looking really good again. They've seemed to have figured some things out. Oklahoma's been a Jekyll and Hyde kind of team this year. I really don't know what to expect out of Oklahoma. The game's being played at Bryant-Denny. Because of that, give me the Crimson Tide.
They can't keep getting away with it. Oklahoma, this is your time to put the nail in the coffin at Alabama. This is your chance. If you want to be in the playoffs, if you want to be considered that true contender, this is your chance. Go into Bryant-Denny and beat Alabama. I don't care. People are just going to say I'm hating on them. Alabama has dodged seemingly every bullet come their way. And I still cannot forget that Florida State loss. I cannot forget it. And we're wanting to put Ty Simpson as a Heisman candidate, all this stuff. And yet, you only beat LSU 20-9. And I'm not saying that as a discredit to LSU. I'm saying that is a discredit to Alabama because LSU is almost in shambles at this point. We don't know what's going on with Nussmeier. They don't have a head coach. They're running with an interim head coach. And if LSU was halfway something on offense and could have just scored touchdowns instead of field goals, Alabama would be holding a loss. I think Oklahoma beats Alabama in Bryant.
I think both of these teams have been Jekyll and Hyde all season. Week to week, you don't know what to expect. Like Kevin talked about with the game last week at LSU. I mean, despite all their deficiencies across the board, no head coach, quarterback controversy. I mean, the LSU defense stepped up and held Alabama, which has traditionally been a very good running team, and the Tigers held them to 59 yards rushing. The only reason I don't think Oklahoma goes to Bryant-Denny and wins is because Alabama still has a bad taste in their mouth from last year.
Yep.
Because Oklahoma, if you remember, knocked Alabama out of the playoffs because they handed the Tide their third loss. And this is one of those that could possibly be a really fluky game. But I think at the end of the day, Alabama does what it's been doing for the last 6 weeks and just ends up and just finds a way to score more points than the Sooners.
Another marquee matchup coming up in our next game. We're picking Texas at Georgia. Talk about Jekyll and Hyde teams. You know, again, what do they expect out of either of these teams?
Well, and with Texas, a team that lost to Florida.
Yeah. I mean, Texas, but since that time, they seem to have found something. Or have they? You know, I mean, is it just who they've played since? I don't know. Georgia, one week looks like they struggle and can't figure out a way to win a game. And the next week, they look like the Georgia of old. So I don't know what to expect here. I'm going to go with the home team merely because they're the home team and because last year they owned Texas. Texas hadn't proved to me yet they can beat Georgia. So give me the Bulldogs.
Yeah, I think Kirby's got Sark figured out. I really do. I think this one's at home. I'm going to make this one short and sweet. Georgia beats Texas. Right now it's Kirby and Sark, and Kirby on Sark.
Yeah, it's going to be a three-way here. Georgia at home, Texas a team that, like I said, lost to Florida. They played 2 overtime games, one against Mississippi State where they should have lost in regulation. Then last week they almost let Vanderbilt come back from a 17-point fourth quarter deficit playing in Austin. And, you know, Arch has started to play better at quarterback, but, I mean, with Kevin's assessment of Kirby owning Sark, I mean, I think that's the key to this one, and that it's in Athens, the Bulldogs.
Now we get into our state schools as we start off with Texas State at Southern Miss. This is going to be another, to me, I think this is probably one of the easier games we've picked. USM, I think, wins this one by a couple of scores. So give me the Golden Eagles.
Same. I think that the path is there. We talked about it a little bit. The path is there that USM could make the college football playoffs.
Long shot, but it's there.
Very long shot. Not saying they will, but it is there. Man, that La Tech loss is really showing up now. Man, I finally got to watch, you know, other than seeing them on the field against State, I watched the second half of that game. 6 turnovers.
That defense, they bend, but they find a way to get the ball back. It's
leading
impressive.
the country in takeaways.
Yeah.
Yep.
They are unreal. Give me USM in this one.
Yeah, I also watched most of the second half of that game, and, you know, to go on the road, Jonesboro, playing Arkansas State, the team that's right behind them in the standings in the what would that be, the western part of the Sun Belt?
Yeah.
And, you know, this should be a fairly easy game for Southern Miss. I agree with both of you. I think it's a double score game. And, we all just keep hoping that they can win out, get to 10-2. James Madison on the eastern side of the Sun Belt keeps winning, and then they're 11-1, and then they play each other. Some other fluky things go down. Southern gets a win, gets the number 12 spot. Don't count it out.
It's a long shot, but possible. So, and you have to talk about it because it is possible. Next, we've got Mississippi State at Missouri. I'm not going into depth in this one. Give me Missouri because Mississippi State, you have proved me wrong too many times. Not picking you. You broke my heart. Not picking you this week. Maybe I'll pick you in a couple of weeks, but I'm not picking you in this game. Missouri rolls.
This is the game that's got to get Mississippi State in the bowl eligibility. This is, to me, I know anything can happen in the Egg Bowl. I know what we talked about. I know I even said it, but this is the game that gets you bowl eligible, and Missouri is hurting right now.
They are.
Levy said, as long as Shapen's healthy, he's starting. And Levy, if you say that too close to my girl, she's going to throw something at you. But I'm going to say State wins this one, and they win it close. But it's going to take some KT. They're going to have to bring KT in on some packages.
I just can't believe you're still riding that dog.
I'm hoping they get bowl eligible, man.
I am too. They just good. What do you think?
You know where my heart lies in this one, and along with your girl, my brother would do the same thing if he heard Levy say that within striking distance. He's a big KT fan as well as I am. Missouri is kind of reeling. They're kind of banged up. I think State getting away from Starkville for this game in particular might bode well for them. I think it has the potential to be a low 20-something to 20-something type game. I'm like Jack. State has let us down 2 or 3 times over the past 5 weeks, and it's just – I don't know. I'm picking Missouri in this one. I hope I'm wrong, but I don't like Shapen being the starter, and it's nothing against the kid. I mean, he's just a kid. But if they're going to have any chance to get to a bowl either this week or in 3 weeks when they play Ole Miss, you got to get KT in there. And until that happens, I just can't roll with them.
Next, we've got the battle for Lane Kiffin, Florida at Ole Miss. Of course, I kid with that. Kiffin, of course, is the rumored front runner for multiple jobs, not just Florida. They were just the first one on the scene here. Florida ruined Ole Miss's playoff chances last year. It was in the swamp. Florida was equally not a great team last year, but found a way. I think Ole Miss is going to be more motivated. I think they're at home. Give me the Rebels to take care of business in this one.
Vegas has Kiffin now as the leader to take the Florida job. They opened up this morning. He's the leader.
We're betting on that now?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
We bet on everything now.
Yep. I want to say Ole Miss. I'm going to say Ole Miss. But I think Florida is going to give them a run. Y'all, you're shaking your head, man. I don't know. I just feel off about it. Any other time I'd say Ole Miss by 21, right? But man, something feels off. If the rumors are true and there's some smoke to it, I just wonder where Kiffin's head is going to be at, and maybe the team's head is going to be at. I don't know. I'm picking Ole Miss, but I don't know. I feel off.
Florida's coming off a 38-7 loss at Kentucky.
I know.
38-7 to Kentucky. Kentucky.
I know, man.
This was in football.
I know.
Not basketball. I don't know what you're feeling with your intuition.
Maybe it's the stomach bug.
Maybe it was. Maybe it's the Chick-fil-A you had before we started. I don't know. Ole Miss has an off week next week. They are not looking ahead to anything. Kiffin, I can guarantee you, has addressed any rumors and everything with his entire team. Ole Miss will beat Florida by at least 3 scores.
Boom. Cool's going with the blowout prediction.
I'm like, get at it.
Maybe 30.
It's gonna be interesting to see what happens, no matter what they're in Oxford this weekend. I'm looking forward to it. Let's get to our high school games, folks, and we're going to start off with 8-3 Bay Springs at 6-4 East Marion. I'm going with Bay Springs in this one.
I'm gonna give you the upset here. I'm going with East Marion in this one. I had some people tell me that this was the most, probably the most disappointed they had seen with Bay Springs with the fans. Said there was hardly anybody there. It reflected in the score. They only won 12-0. It's an ugly game. Bay Springs fans, you better show up. I know you're going to be on the road, but you better show up and support your team, because if not, they're feeding off that, and you ain't feeding them much. I'm going to pick East Marion in this one.
Yeah, after that, I mean, we don't know how it all transpired, but that 12-0 win over Pelahatchie at home, it kind of left a sour taste in my mouth as well. And with what you've already told with your preview and prognostication, I also am going with East Marion in this one too.
Next, we've got 7-3 Pearl River Central traveling to 8-2 Hattiesburg. Hattiesburg has looked really good as of late. This should be a fun game, because both teams have really good records. Both teams are going to be solid. This one, I'm going with the home team. Give me them Hattiesburg Tigers.
Tigers are the best team in 6A. Shout out to my boy Will Parrish, Pearl River Central grad. He was stoked. They beat the Union, right? Beat the Union last week. You coming back to reality this week, buddy. Hattiesburg is winning by 20.
Yeah, and another rivalry game for Hattiesburg, playing at home against the Blue Devils. Sure, you come off the upset win of the Maroon Tide, but this is Hattiesburg. Hattiesburg's rolling right now. Probably the best team in the South in 6A, and Hattiesburg's going to roll over Pearl River.
This next one, I think, is probably going to be a clean sweep for us, as we've got 5-6 North Forest traveling to 9-2 Heidelberg. I don't even have to think about this one. This one's pretty easy. Heidelberg.
I'm going to challenge you, Jack. What you think the score is going to be?
Get out of my head. That's what I was going to say, because I know who we're all picking. I was going to say, not only are we picking them, but you got to guess the amount of points that Heidelberg scores. How did you do that?
All right.
You're getting to be like my fiance. This is ridiculous. We spend too much time in this office together.
I'm going to go 70. I think Heidelberg puts 70 on them.
All right, Jack.
I'm going to say 62-7.
Kev, 62. And I already had the number in my head. It almost splits the difference, but I was going 65 with Heidelberg.
I do like the fact that all three of us gave a different number. So that's fun. We'll see how we go keep that for next week so we can see. Are we treating it like the Price is Right, closest without going over?
I just say closest.
Next, we've got 5-6 Mize at 10-0 Wesson. Mize is they're one of those teams that you want to see do.
It don't matter what I pick Mize to do; they're going to do the opposite. Yeah. That's what's happened to me all year.
Wesson's in the playoffs undefeated. I'm gonna go with the undefeated team.
Yeah, I just thought, this. I know we talked about it with the playoff situation and stuff, and teams getting in. This is a situation where Mize is just a really tough district, and the losses they took put them as a lower seed, and they go into that game last week and they take care of business. Unfortunately, this is where it ends for the Bulldogs. Wesson, they're just a really good team, and they got two dynamic rushers, and this is all over for them. The Cobras strike.
You took Guru's line. Go Karate Kid. Do a Cobra Kai reference or something. Since he,
No, I was going to ask a trivia question if either of you knew their mascot.
I had to do the preview.
But that doesn't mean you knew their mascot. But yeah, no, I agree. Mize has battled back in the tough district. Getting to the second round has been pretty impressive. But Wesson's is probably a dark horse in 2A, and they're pretty formidable with, like Kevin said, those two running backs. Give me the Cobras.
Next, we've got 7-3 Biloxi at 8-3 Oak Grove. This one's an easy one for me to pick. Oak Grove's going to roll in this one.
Yeah, 7-3 or 3-7?
3-7.
3-7. Okay, yeah.
Uh,
Last week was autism. This week is dyslexia.
No, I've got the same thing.
I was dyslexia both times last week.
I've got Oak Grove winning this one. It'll be a good game, but Oak Grove prevails.
Yeah, I think Oak Grove is really starting to find their way, and I think we'll end up seeing them in the Class 7A South State Championship, Oak Grove.
This next game is an interesting one. Diablerville at 8-2, traveling to 7-4 Petal. You talk about tough district. If you finish the season 8-2 and you're a road team in the playoffs in the first round, that's crazy to me. Just crazy when you look at it. Petal was one of those teams a few weeks ago we thought might have been one of the best. That we really thought that they might. I'm not as sure anymore because they've had a couple of hiccups. I know they're at home, and I know it's crazy to say that they're going, but I think Diablerville being 8-2 gives me reason to believe that they're going to travel to Petal and walk away with the win in this one.
Wow, stole my thunder there, man. Diablerville, I think, takes this one in a close one. I could see this one going Petal's way. Don't discredit Petal or that district by any means. That district was knotted up all year. Man, yeah, I'm gonna stick with Diablerville. Petal close. Petal could win this one close.
Yeah, Diablerville is ranked in the Mississippi Gridiron top 10 this week, and yeah, I mean, you talk about Petal and Oak Grove's district being just muddled and all that. Same way with Diablerville. I mean, look, they're playing on the road in the first round, and like Jack said, 8-2. We're going to make it a clean sweep, and I'm going to go with the Warriors as well.
This next one's another interesting matchup. You've got 8-3 PCS at Raleigh, who's 10-1 in this game. PCS has surprised a lot of people by being as good as they are in their introduction to public school football. But I think it comes to an end this week. I think they're running into a buzzsaw. I think they're going to play it close, but I think Raleigh's going to walk away with the win.
Yeah, Raleigh's got the Mr. 3A Player of the Year on their side of the ball. Their only loss was to who? We just talked about them.
Heidelberg.
No.
Wesson.
Diablerville.
Played
on first game of the year. Yep. So,
man, we've slept a little bit since the first week of the year.
Yeah, if I remember right, their first loss was to Diablerville. But yeah, Raleigh takes this one. PCS, great season in the MHSAA, but Raleigh takes it.
Next matchup, do we have Stringer's record right there? Stringer 9-2 at Simmons 9-0.
Can I give a Raleigh pick?
Oh wait, you didn't give your pick. Kevin went on so long, I forgot.
Raleigh's the Class 3A champions this year. You can mark me down Raleigh the rest of the season.
Now we'll go back to Stringer because I think that I jumped ahead because are they 9-2?
Do what?
Is Stringer 9-2 on the year?
I believe so. I'll look it up real quick for you.
Only reason I ask because you got Simmons who's 9-0, so they played.
Yeah, I looked at
games.
Simmons' schedule last night when I typed this up, and because I thought the same thing. I was like, that can't be right, but no, they played 8 regular season games and then their playoff win last week. So that Simmons record is definitely correct.
That's what threw me off for a second. Apologize that we almost didn't let go pick because my OCD brain saw that and tried to go into a shutdown mode for a second.
And Stringer is 9-2.
Yep.
So I'm I'm going to go with the Red Devils in this one. I think they're going to go on the road and hang that first loss on Simmons.
Nah, I love Stringer, man. Love what Coach Dan Brady's done. He said he wanted to do 3 things this year. He wanted to have a winning record, he wanted to make the playoffs, and he wanted to host a playoff game. And they done all 3 of those this year. And congrats to them. But they played Simmons the last 2 years, got beat by Simmons the last 2 years in the playoffs, and Simmons is probably your 1A state champions this year. Give me Simmons in this one.
Yeah, I'm not going to add too much to that. Simmons will be the 1A state champion. The Blue Devils, unfortunately.
Next, we've got South Delta at 8-2, traveling to 7-4 Taylorsville. Taylorsville is one of those teams that came back from a terrible start this year, and seeing what they've done. Give me the Tartars. I think they're going to stay on that roll, and they're going to win again this week.
We talked about the big win with Heidelberg, the 78-6 win or whatever it was. Dude, Taylorsville won 66-0. And what was it? 3 carries, 3 touchdowns for their or 5
carries, 3 touchdowns, 161 yards.
Yeah, something like that for their one of the running backs.
All in the first half.
Yeah,
or maybe even first quarter.
First quarter, yeah. Taylorsville is formidable, and they could be representing the South in 1A this year. So
probably going to come down to them and Simmons.
Yeah, it will be. I keep forgetting Simmons is way up north, and they're in the South. I keep forgetting about that. Yeah, but give me Taylorsville.
Yeah, I agree. I really don't know that much about South Delta, but I like the way Taylorsville's been playing over the last 2 months, and I think they're on a collision course, like I just said, with Simmons to play for the South State 1A championship, Tartars.
Next, we've got Wayne Academy at 5-6, traveling to Adams Christian at 9-3. It's been a great story to see Wayne Academy do better than we anticipated when we started this show. But the run-ins here, Adams Christian's going to be too much for him.
Yep. Adams Christian wins this one.
Yeah, I mean, shout out to Coach Breland and what he has done and what he deemed at the beginning of the year, rebuilding year. And for them to make this run in the playoffs has been fun to watch. But unfortunately, it will come to an end for the Jaguars. I'm going to go Adams Christian as well.
Now we're getting into our local schools. And because it's playoff time, all of these are our game of the week this week. So we'll start with Hancock, 4-6 at West Jones. We talked about it in our preview. We talked about what West Jones needs to do. I believe they will do enough, and they will be able to win this game at home. Give me the Mustangs.
West Jones wins this one. It's going to be tighter than what they want, though. I'm sold on that dual threat quarterback, and I haven't even laid eyes on him yet.
Yeah, I think this is going to be the key game for West Jones. I throw out that 4-6 record for Hancock with a 6'3", 185-pound dual threat quarterback. It comes down to how what used to be the formidable Stingy Stings defense is able to do with him. However, with the game being in so-so and that 3-headed monster the Mustangs have on offense, I think West Jones will be moving on in Class 6A after this one.
Next, we've got 5-5 Northeast Jones at Old Brook. We talked about the keys there. We know the Northeast is definitely capable, but this is a hard place to go travel to play. I think that the inconsistencies on offense catch up to them. I think that defense holds Old Brook to a lower score than Old Brook will be comfortable with. I think it's a close game, but I think Old Brook's going to take it.
Same. I've got Old Brook winning this one 13-7 is what I'm going to say. It comes down again, kind of like what I said last week. If Northeast Jones wants to win it, they got to have 3 turnovers. I think they got to have a score on defense, and they just got to have some things happen. But I do think they'll hold Old Brook to 13 in this game.
Yeah, it's all about the Northeast Jones defense. I mean, we talked about how they barely crossed the 150-yard mark in total offense and beaten Wayne County last week. Old Brook has some soft spots on defense, but overall their offense will be too much. Kev, I don't even know if 3 turnovers would be enough, even with a score. I think we're looking more about 17 or 20-7 in this one, unfortunately, with Old Brook moving on in Class 5A.
Hopefully they prove us wrong, but there's our picks. And next we've got 6-4 Purvis at 4-6 Laurel. Another example, like you said earlier, Good, this is another game that you can't look at the records because 4-6 doesn't tell the story of Laurel's season and their comeback. And I think the fact that it's between the bricks, I think it's going to be a close game. I think it's going to be a dogfight. But give me the Tornadoes to advance to the second round.
These have been some tough ones to pick. You look at Purvis's record, they beat Van Cleve 30-0, but they lose to Wayne County 27-17, beat Northeast 28-21. They've got offense, right? I think this is one of those games where it's similar to Summerall and Laurel, and I think Laurel comes out on top. I'm going to pick Laurel in this one, but it's going to be close. It's going to be like a 17-7 game, maybe.
Yeah, I think the way the Laurel defense has gotten so much better week in and week out, especially once they got into playing 5A competition every week, I think that will be the difference in this one. And I would say Laurel somewhere around the 13 to 17 point mark, and probably only giving up one score to Purvis. So Tornadoes win, the Golden Tornadoes, that is.
Next, we've got South Jones at 8-3, traveling to 3-7 Wayne County. You look at the records and you think that this is an easy pick, but it's not. And it's not because South Jones offensively has gone into hibernation the last couple of weeks. They've got to find something. And I think the guys both alluded to, they need to try to figure out how to pretend that they're the opponent that you consider to be your biggest victory of the year. At some point, you've got to prove it to us that you are the team we thought you were earlier in the year. At some point, South Jones has to step up. This is the team that put them out last year. This is a team that wasn't supposed to beat them last year. Now you're going to their place to play. But I think the Braves are going to put on a brave face. I think that they will do enough to get past Wayne County. Give me South Jones in a much closer game than they want it to be.
Man, Wayne County, last week you sat there, you had a chance to prove me wrong. All year I've been laughing at your fan base, not the coach, not the players, laughing at the fan base because we can't say nothing negative about the boys and all this stuff. And, well, you had a chance and you blew it. And, I got to write the recap, and I was kind of giggled as I wrote the recap. Northeast had negative yards passing, and they still won. They still beat you. But it's playoff time. You backed your way in the playoffs somehow, and now you're playing South Jones, and here you are. Your second opportunity to make me eat crow. Can you do it? And you know what? I think they can. Despite backing up in the playoffs, I think that South Jones is trending down, unfortunately. So South Jones, I'm putting the challenge to you. Wayne County and West Jones used to be the biggest rivalry, I think, in the state. So much so that they had to go to Jones College to get fans in because neither stadium could hold enough people. So South, if you want to be like West Jones, you're taking on their biggest rival. Can you beat them? I'm picking Wayne County in this one, though, ending the Braves season.
Just like I said before in the preview, in order for South Jones to win, you got to look across that line and see green and gold. Play the way you did from start to finish against West Jones, and you beat Wayne County. You play the way you've played over the last 4 to 5 weeks, and you lose to Wayne County. This is on you, seniors. I wrote about you in the preview in yesterday's paper. You guys I've got to pick the team up, put them on your shoulders, and go over to Waynesboro and take care of business. And I believe in you, believed in you all season. Go Braves. Go ahead and play the chop.
There you have it, folks. This is the first round of the playoffs for many teams, second round for those lower classifications. This is when we start to have a little bit more fun, folks. And unfortunately, it's also where we're going to say goodbye to some of the teams that we followed this year. We hope to get proven wrong. I know, well, I don't know if Kevin hopes to get proven wrong on that Sal Jones because of his Wayne County tie. So I really don't know if he hopes to be proven wrong or not. But it's no matter what happens, we're going to have some unhappy fan bases.
Jack, you know what I say? I make my money in Jones County. That's what I say.
You notice, though, he didn't have the courage to pick against Laurel since he's going there to cover that game. So he wasn't going to pick against Laurel.
I make my money in the city. Beautiful, baby.
Goodness. But anyway, folks, it's been a lot of fun. We look forward to coming back next week, telling you where we were right, telling you where we were wrong, coming up with another fun wild card question. Hopefully next week it won't be one that I'll tell them in advance, and maybe can trip them up a little bit. So we'll see you guys again next week. I'm Jack Fairchilds, and for Kevan Lindsey and Josh Guru Nichols, we'll see you again real soon.